Puritanism was of paramount importance in the founding of America, and its principles and ideological foundations still endure today. Sadly, their legacy today in the public view and in our education system focuses primarily on such events as the Salem witch trials and their pious persecution of dissenting religious views in an effort to discredit their importance in the American founding and forget their importance on our nation today. By relegating them to the horrible behavior as portrayed in high school mandatory reading of the Scarlet Letter and an instruction on America's founding devoid of any Christian references, it would seem unlikely that a young, publicly educated student would look to study the Puritans as the source for the freedoms that are enjoyed today. While prior to the scholarly assassination of the Puritans' character and value in American history, John Winthrop's 1630 thesis, a model of Christian charity, also commonly known as the City on a Hill sermon, was mandatory reading in public schools. According to John Beardsley's introduction to the thesis, today only a portion of the historical thesis is read in an effort to make the Puritans sound unkind, fatalistic, and sternly zealous. When read in its entirety, nothing could be further from the truth. And this biased teaching often diminishes any sense of valuable contribution by the Puritans that would provoke further investigation. Puritans who largely sought refuge from oppression and desired to establish a colony where they could exercise their faith without persecution were pioneers in the foundation for the latter systems put in place in this great nation. Equal freedom, moral character, and self-governance were just a few of the important fundamental ideas that would shape the formation of America. Although credit to the Puritans is largely missed, prior to the Constitution, Puritans were a self-governed people who influenced the Founding Fathers, and credit to the Puritans shifted to the Founding Fathers for the ideals present in our founding documents. By the time that the Constitution was implemented, people were not foreign to the ideas of self-governance. They had been a self-governing people mirroring that established by the Puritans for some time. The Constitution and our founding documents merely codified these early practices established by the Puritans. Without the intense persecution in England faced by the Puritans prior to the Great Puritan Migration in the 1630s, it is unlikely that such an emphasis on limited government, delegated power, popular rule, and the necessity for a character of Christian piety would have been emphasized by the Puritans and later would become our nation's guiding principles laid out in our founding documents. Reformed Christians understood the dangers of unchecked governmental authority and the power long before the events leading to the Declaration of Independence. This understanding was fresh to many of the Pilgrim settlers. Persecution sanctioned by the government was real and at the forefront of Puritan thought when implementing a system of government in the early colony. Protections from unlimited power of the government was of paramount concern to the Puritans after having been faced with the iniquity inherently present to those in power that sparked the Reformation. A dissertation on the canon and feudal law was written by John Adams and published in the Boston Gazette in 1765. It was subsequently republished in various places and even retitled as The True Sentiments of America, leading up to the American Revolution. In it, Adams attributes the Puritans with the successful settlement of America and credits them on understanding the biblical teaching that rights come from God and cannot be changed by human laws. Adams gives credit to the Reformation for the Puritan understanding of the need to limit the power of the state and equates the Puritans fleeing to America to the biblical account of fleeing into the wilderness from Pharaoh to establish a new law. When speaking about the Puritans, Adams stated that their greatest concern seemed to be, quote, to establish a government of the church consistent with scriptures and a government of the state more agreeable to the dignity of human nature than any seen in Europe, end quote. A covenantal system would be formed from this thought. Puritans' understanding of the scriptures and the iniquity present in man since the fall along with the persecution experienced firsthand by power given to fallen men, ensured their understanding that power needed to be given to the people to limit the power of government, but that also pious Christian character and instruction were also necessary to ensure the system of government formed by the people for the people would remain virtuous people. Adams' writing displays the understanding that although government is often formed and necessary to protect the people, it often grows to be the very thing people need protection from. Puritans understand this principle and are largely overlooked when considering the formation of this great new system of government and those responsible, in part, for some of its foundations.